This is the Crowd Crux Crowdfunding Podcast with Sal Briggman, where we cover everything you need to know to launch a successful crowdfunding campaign. We speak with proven entrepreneurs who've raised money from the crowd and want to teach you how to do the same. Stay tuned because we're about to reveal how to launch your dream project. With your host, Sal Briggman.
Before we get started with this podcast episode, I want to take a second to introduce you to my friends at Fulfillrite. If you need help shipping out your Kickstarter or Indiegogo perks or rewards, Fulfillrite is the absolute best company for you. I've been working with them for a while and I can vouch for their services. They make it dead simple and take all of the headache out of shipping out all of those boxes, all of those orders to your backers and your customers. If you want to check them out, go to fulfillrite.com at fulfillrite.com. What's up, crowdfunders? Salvador Briggman here with the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Thank you for tuning in again today. This episode, I interviewed an entrepreneur who has raised over $600,000 on Kickstarter, and he goes into what worked for him, the things that he did to raise money and get backers, traffic, and attention. All of that kind of stuff you'll find on today's podcast episode. And also, if you go into the archives of this show, you'll also hear from many other guests who have done different things, who have applied different strategies, who've shared with you what works for them when it comes to raising money with crowdfunding and raising money on Kickstarter. My entire goal with this show is, number one, to bring you the best principles, strategies, tactics, all of that kind of stuff. Number two, I know a lot of people out there don't really have anywhere else to turn. And to be able to gain access to some of these tips and tools for free, I think while you're doing things like you're commuting to work or you're on the subway or whatever you're doing, I think that's also just another way you can begin to see some bumps in your Kickstarter campaign and also gain some assurance, gain some confidence building. The fact that when you are operating in the dark, when you don't really know what it is that you're doing, you don't know how to get backers, it can be really scary. So I try to put this podcast out there, number one, for education, but number two, to cultivate the community of people that are invested in the crowdfunding community. Putting out things like, kickstarterforum.org, my online forum that helps people raise money. They can ask questions, they can promote their link, they can interact with other campaigners. Kickstarterforum.org is a great place for that. I also do crowdcrux.com, the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. All of these things are resources and places where you can interact with like-minded campaigners, people who are also raising money on Kickstarter and are learning and all of that kind of stuff, kind of figuring things out. The other thing that I want to mention here is, while learning is great via this podcast, I think there's something to be said for more of a classroom environment. And I'm obviously not in the same location that you are, but one of the things that I do from time to time is I hold web classes. And tomorrow, Friday, let me check the date, Friday, October 20th. This is of 2017, what do we mean 2017, October 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be holding a web class. And if you want to check out the web class, basically you can go to crowdcrux.com/webinar. That is crowdcrux.com/webinar. And you can enter your email address there and you'll get a notification when the class starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and on November 20th, Friday. So this class is going to go through the various strategies I've uncovered to get backers, the things that you can do to get attention. And this is really for someone out there who is in the preparation stages. You're really trying to figure out, is crowdfunding right for me? Is this something I should spend attention on? If you're maybe already in the stages of putting together the video and the image, what do I need to do to have a great first week, to have a great Kickstarter campaign launch? This is the class for you. So this is at crowdcrux.com/webinar. You can check it out there. But without further ado, let's get into today's podcast episode. Morgan, welcome to the podcast. Congratulations on all of your success thus far. Where are you hailing in from? Where in the world are you located?
Brooklyn, New York.
Me too. Which part?
I live in Williamsburg right now, yeah, but I'm actually in San Francisco for the next 3 months. So right now I'm in SF.
Okay, Hipsterville. I actually also live in Williamsburg. That's really
Oh
funny. I
yeah,
didn't know
cool.
that.
That's funny.
It's cool too
Small world.
because I know, yeah, Kickstarter also is based in Greenpoint.
Yeah, I actually reached out to them and visited their offices, and they gave me a tour. They were very cool, and gave me the whole tour of the place. It's in an old pencil factory.
It's
It was
pretty
great.
neat. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
I actually went to one of their block parties, and it was just so cool to me to see the spirit of all these creators that have launched projects. They have a lot of cool products there. Was this like before you launched the project, you reached out, or when you launched?
when I launched, I reached out and yeah, they were just really nice and chatted with me since I happened to like live a few blocks away from their HQ. They were nice enough to give me a little tour.
Did they give you any kind of like tips or advice?
They gave me a bunch of advice that they said maybe would help me become a project they love, but they never. We never did become a project that they love. So, so I guess, yeah, they said the community was really into process and the and design and the manufacturing process. And for me, we didn't really want to start taking pictures of people working in factories just to sell our products. That wasn't really our brand. So we didn't follow some of that advice, but did talk a little bit about the manufacturing process, but it didn't help.
So they said to basically showcase the story of like how the product's made to become a project we love.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Interesting.
And then they also mentioned another thing that we did not do. But the second, you have in our case, the brand name Public Goods revolutionizing household products, and then underneath there's a subheading, and they said that subheading, the heading and the subheading are the only things that are searchable on Kickstarter, so that I should load that up with stuff like with keywords that would make my product more searchable. Mm-hmm. I also didn't do that just because I'm obsessed with keeping things simple, and so I wasn't into just making the page look super messy, just so people would be able to search for household products or soap or whatever. So I just kept it the first brand ever to offer all their products at cost, rather than beefing it up, but maybe I would have done way better had I followed their advice.
I mean, you did pretty good. I mean, at the moment, you're almost at $500,000. So, I mean, you've definitely done something right. And also, I think the fact of keeping things simple, that's really in line with your brand. So this is a good segue. Maybe you could tell the listeners a bit about what the product is, what the project is, and who it's for.
Sure. Well, the mission of the company, Public Goods, is to make healthy products affordable to everyone. And we do that in two ways. Number one, we make all of our own brand of products. So it's all our stuff. And we're talking about things like soap, shampoo, moisturizers, toothpaste, razors, just stuff we need. So it's all Public Goods brand products. But the second piece, and I guess the most important piece, is that we don't make money on products themselves. We actually charge our members what it actually costs to get the products into their hands. And instead, we make money on a membership. So the result is that we could actually deliver healthy goods at 1/4 to half the price of even the biggest, baddest retailers like Amazon or Walmart. So that's kind of the insight that it was supply chain that was driving up prices. And so we would just kind of circumvent that supply chain and then go a step further and actually just make money in a different way from most CPG companies.
So when we're talking about brand name products versus generic products, you can go into CVS and you can see a brand name product is charging like $4 or $5 more. It almost sounds too good to be true that you could get an at cost product in like this kind of a marketplace that you're talking about.
Well, we make money. I mean, we're a for-profit company, so we just make money differently. On the Kickstarter, we offered literally what we called the deal of a lifetime, which was a lifetime membership, depending at what point people bought. So there was some urgency. The very first people that signed up got a $39 lifetime membership. And that membership gave them access to buy these products at our store. And then as it went on, right now, the lifetime membership is at $69. But then that's how we make money. And then as an ongoing business, it's not so different from Costco. It's sort of a blend between the Costco business model, where they charge something like $60 a year, and the Trader Joe's business model, where everything is Trader Joe's brand products. And if you combine those two, you can really pass on a lot of value to the consumer.
What is it that made you then decide to focus on this? I mean, I'm not sure. I'm sure you've had other projects that you've worked on or other ventures. Why is it that this sort of stuck out in your mind? Why did you want to devote so much time to launching this kind of a project?
Well, I used to work in manufacturing of leather goods, and we made products for some of the most prestigious brands in the world, and we were just focused on making a premium quality product and manufacturing it. And that was my focus and the focus of the business. At the time, I was in Montreal, and when I moved, sometimes when I'd visit our customers in New York, I'd see that I would manufacture and sell them something for $20, and then they would go ahead and retail that product for $200. So when I decided to start a new business, I thought, okay, well, this is a problem that we could solve, but what product categories do I want to solve it in? Do I want to focus on? And I decided the best place to focus would be on products people really need, that everybody needs. Because if you're saving somebody money on a product that they don't really need, then you could ask the question, are you really saving the money? Right. So I wanted to just make products, and that's going to be the philosophy for all new products that we launch. That we'll ask ourselves the question, is this something that pretty much every household really needs? And if the answer is yes to that, then we'll launch the product.
So looking at this project, this is your very first Kickstarter project from what I understand. And Kickstarter is actually really different, I think, than sort of traditional marketing in that there's a set fundraising, you have a particular goal you're trying to reach, all this kind of stuff factor in. So for you, how did you become acquainted with Kickstarter, and did you have any kind of launch strategy going into it?
The strategy was, well, yes, we had a strategy. I mean, I think everybody knows Kickstarter, so you always hear about these projects, and I think everybody has one friend that's done a Kickstarter. So I think it's pretty well known. The question for us was, we were launching the brand. We knew we were launching the brand in September. We had a little bit of money to get a few products together, but not really very much. And we're going to, it was but we were committed to doing it. And we thought, well, how could we do this in a bigger, better way? And the answer was, well, maybe if we could sell, if people like the idea, we launch it on Kickstarter, we can get pre-sales of our memberships and then launch more products, buy more inventory, and so on. So that's what we did. And I think the key what I thought was important, I read a great study that I recommend to anyone who's planning to do a Kickstarter. But it's somewhere on. There's a great website to find videographers. It's on Video Pixie. It's I don't know if you know the incubator Y Combinator, but it's a Y Combinator company, and they started this platform, Video Pixie, and they connect you with videographers to make your video. You could get a videographer or even a team for as little as $1,000, upwards of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, depending on your budget. But they did an interesting study with Kickstarter, which showed that the more people spend on a video, on the Kickstarter video, the more they raise. Typically, there's a direct relationship. So the first part for me was just figuring out how to make a great video. And honestly, I think our video is pretty good. I've seen better videos in general, and I've seen worse. But I think it was succinct, and we spent a lot of time I spent a lot of time interviewing videographers, finally found one I really connected with, that the communication was good, that understand, kind of the whole breadth of making video, not just the shooting, but the script writing and the cadence. So I think like that's a key piece for us, was like just doing a great video.
When you're looking at the actual video, I think one of the things that stands out about yours particularly is sort of the story behind it, and that problem that you discovered and sort of offering the solution. That really came across very strongly for me. So did you know that you were going to include like certain elements in this video, or did you sort of lead it up to the videographer to be in charge of all that?
Well, I mean, I wrote the script. And then, he adjusted it. It was really collaborative. It was he understood more the cadence and what we needed to take out, and, the different, a shot list. So he had a much better understanding of that. But in terms of, the message and what we got out, we started with my script, and then it was kind of like a back and forth. It took really a long time, actually. It was a couple of months of going back and forth and really getting it right. Because apparently, you also, there's a relationship. If videos are longer than 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you start losing people. Mm-hmm. So we had to pack kind of a new business model into a pretty short period of time. And then there's the post-production of the video, where a lot of things didn't look right, or we had whole scenes that we had to cut out because they just, they didn't improve the video. So it was a long process, but I think the video is pretty important.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Y Combinator, and there are a lot of different accelerators out there to sort of help you start a business, etc. I think starting a business, honestly, is one of the most frightening things that you can do, because you're kind of leaping off of a cliff and you're just hoping you assemble like a plane on the way down, as they say. So when you actually were going and you launched this project, you hit that launch button. Did you have any kind of like a crowd you had built up? How did you get the word out in that first day or two to let people know about the project?
We launched the company under the brand name Morgan's in 2015. So we had a mailing list of about 10,000 people. And then before the campaign, we also we put up a landing page. And we started actually just through some Facebook ads. We spent about $1,000 to drive people to a landing page that kind of had a pretty like a one-liner description of what we were about and that we were launching soon on Kickstarter. So by collecting 1,000 emails plus the 10,000 that we had, which was kind of an older list because it's been collected over a longer period of time. But between those two things, so when we launched, we announced it to those two groups of people. So I highly recommend that if somebody's planning to do a Kickstarter, while they're working on the video and all of that they start doing a lead generation campaign where they get people who are interested. That also will help them later on if they want to. If they want to or can put an advertising budget where they can take that list and find a similar audience to that list and find similar people who might be interested in their product.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking here at your KickTrack statistics. It looks like you hit your goal within the first 5 days, certainly within the first week, around there. Mm-hmm. And then looking at your trajectory, this is actually a trajectory I don't see very often. It seems like pretty much around after that first week, your campaign just took off. Like it's rapidly growing, more and more people pledging and discovering it. What happened there? Like what was responsible for that takeoff period? I had to interrupt this podcast episode because I want to introduce you to my friends at The Gadget Flow. Their product discovery platform reaches 22 million people per month. They've helped more than 5,000 crowdfunding campaigns thus far, and they have a social media following of more than 700,000 followers. If you want to gain access to their marketplace and list your own product, you can go to thegadgetflow.com/submit and list your project today.
Well, yeah, I guess people are sharing. We're getting press, and then we're also advertising the campaign.
Okay, in terms of advertising, is this Facebook? Is this on
Yeah,
Instagram? Like whereabouts?
yeah, we're doing some Facebook ads. We're doing some Google ads. So we're doing a little bit of well, those two things actually. Those are the two things we're doing.
Very cool. It seems like all these different things are sort of working in tandem then. So building up the crowd, number one. Number two, making sure you have a bit of a promotional budget to get the word out there. And I do want to ask you a little bit more about that. But before we do, I did want to ask you, so with this project, and particularly with the venture as a whole, what have you found to be most rewarding about it? You know, what have you enjoyed most about public goods and sort of assembling this entire team around it?
Well, what's really exciting for us now, and this is just, I mean, this is really amazing. I mean, before we launched this, we had a few hundred active members. And we have a few hundred active members, and I really believe that, you know, as a founder, you need to get on the phone with your customers early on. You really want to get to know them personally for a lot of reasons. You know, one, it's just great. You get to know your customers, and that builds loyalty and understanding. But you also get to know like who they are, what their problem is, what kind of people they are. So you can find more people like them. Who'd be interested in it. But to get that going with 300 customers, it was okay, but it was harder to get that kind of virality going and referrals going, and to really build a community around it. So I'm excited now that I've gotten the opportunity to interact, and I'm every day just on the comments, on the messages, and we're and interacting with all these people. And now it's like it's over 7,000 people, and I've had the opportunity to interact with a lot of them. And then we did a live stream, so they've got questions coming in, and like learning from some of them too. Like they give me insights into the business, and I think like, oh yeah, well they're totally right. I should change that or adjust this. Give me insight as to what products we should launch next. So it's pretty exciting that we have this kind of group of early adopters now that I can learn from and that can help me improve my business.
So then what you like about the process, it seems, is being able to make an impact on these individuals and sort of these groups of people.
Well, more than being able to make an impact on us. I think that's more.
Ooh, okay.
Right? Is that now there's this group of people that really are in the driver's seat of my company, right? Because the most important thing to any business is the customers. And so I'm building something for them. And now I've found an audience. You know, there's a group of people that are like, yeah, this is cool. Direct to consumer at cost for a membership. I'll buy into that. So now they're in the driver's seat. What do they want to see next, right? They've got a lifetime membership to public goods. Do they want, what kind of products do they want to see next? Well, how do they want us to adjust the products? Would they, you know, just all, you know, mostly that, right? Like what do they want to see, and how, and yeah, that's just exciting, right? So they're now going to dictate the future of the company. And I think that's really cool.
Would you call yourself then, I mean, the way you're sort of thinking about that's very like user experience and how that integrates into the company. Would you say that you're a designer? Would you say that you're sort of the systems, you know, putting together all the systems here? What would you, how would you label yourself, I guess?
I don't know. I guess I'm a generalist. I like all of it. I mean,
Me
I'm
too.
involved.
Yeah, I'm that kind of guy too.
I just get excited about all of it. I mean, sure, like I like everybody else. I'm excited, you know, that this is going to be a profitable, successful company. And I think that's really cool. I love the development and trying our different products and, you know, iterating on those products to make them smell perfect and feel perfect on the body and the hair. And I think that's really cool. And then, yeah, like making the website just look beautiful. I'm really excited. We're launching the website in September. And that again was like, wow, was that, I mean, the bottle design, you know, which is really minimal. It's really hard to nail minimal design. It could really come off as looking bland or generic. And actually, we don't want to be bland or generic. We're not trying to be a generic brand. We're really trying to be actually more of a premium brand, but one that just happens to not be expensive. So all the parts of the business I find really fascinating and rewarding.
Out of curiosity, did you find the live stream to be something that sort of drove pledges to your campaign? Was that helpful?
Yeah, I think the live stream was helpful. I don't know. I haven't measured, and I probably should have. It was definitely helpful, I felt, just because, like, for me, it was a great moment to engage very, very directly with our backers and answer questions, and I think that's important. I don't know if I actually were to look at that, that 1 hour time slot, if there was an uptick or not. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious there. The other thing that really just stood out to me with your campaign was the amount of PR attention that you've gotten. You've gotten a lot of different major media publications and people who have seemed to notice your project. What would be your advice to someone who's looking to get into the media in the way you have?
Well, you make a list of people and you just reach out to them. I mean, that's there's not really any magic to PR. I mean, I think a lot of people might disagree with that statement, but I think that it's just a matter of reaching out. I think a lot of the pushback that we got and that probably people get early on is a lot of the outlets really don't want to cover Kickstarters. It's sort of become like a taboo to cover Kickstarters. So that was one issue that we had with it. But really, it's just, reaching out and letting them know. And I would suggest start to reach out once the campaign is already live and once the campaign's already gotten a little bit of traction. So you have the early people that you've gotten through lead gen or friends and, the early adopter, the very first people that back your campaign. And once it's going, then reaching out to PR.
How then would you get over that objection if a reporter's like, yo, man, I have covered a lot of Kickstarters in the past, some have failed, etc. I don't want to write about any more of these. Would you just not even engage that reporter, or did you overcome that objection in some way?
We did not overcome that objection, but I think it's good because you started a dialogue. Your company is going to be there after the Kickstarter. So that's just a great segue into, okay, cool, well, will you cover us when we launched, or can I reach back out when we've launched and send you some samples or whatever? And then you have an opportunity to get press when you're actually live. So that happened in some cases with us.
One of the really frequent questions that I get is like, hey, Sal, I know that PR is important, but quite frankly, I don't know if it's going to drive traffic. I don't know if it's going to do a lot for my project. I'd rather spend that money and time on, say, things like advertisements. So if they were to ask you, a member of the podcast directly, Morgan, how is PR actually helping your project? Is it driving traffic? Is it getting you pledges? Is that something that they should focus on?
Yes, I think absolutely. I think PR definitely works, and I think PR can get picked up by other PR. So PR generates PR. Racked did something on us, and then other people started covering us, other outlets, so that was helpful. And I think PR is good for legitimacy. I think later on PR is good for SEO. I think later on also when somebody goes and they get to your website, however, through ads, and then they're like, okay, that's fine, but I don't know, let me Google and see what other people are saying. If a bunch of publications come up from a Google search, that's helpful. So I think that PR should be a part of every marketing strategy.
I do think it also plays into this brand that looks like you're sort of setting the foundations for, and it sort of stands above all these other brands out there just trying to sell product, etc. I think also your project is very unique to me because I've seen a lot of technology apps try to raise money, a lot of websites try to raise money to fund the development of it. And in a sense, yours is like that, but you're also offering something tangible to these people. Did you research at all these different technological projects that have tried to raise money and failed, or was this kind of just you launched this blind?
I have to say, I'm shocked at how well our project's doing. I really had no idea. It's wild. No, because nobody making shampoo or any kind of products like ours, simple consumer packaged goods, did nearly as well. And and a lot of them outright failed. So we weren't sure. And more than that, we weren't selling the product. We were selling a membership to give people the opportunity to buy the product. So that's even like one more level of abstraction. And I thought maybe people would think it was banal. Okay, membership to public goods where we can get, where we can now buy our shampoo and soap and toilet paper at this store. So, no, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just amazed. So yeah, I looked at these other projects that didn't work and thought, oh boy, maybe mine won't work either. But you got to try. What else? What are we going to do? Not do it? And then never know. And I think that's just kind of the leap that all entrepreneurs have to take, right? The odds are against you. Other people have tried and failed, but you just do it anyway and try to do the best job you can and then hope for the best. And then if it doesn't quite work out, you adjust. But so that's what we did. And this just happens to be one of those cases where it really worked out. But I mean, we tried a lot of things that didn't work.
You were also sort of working off of this company that existed before. I think you said 2015, where you sort of built the foundation from it. Why did you make that sort of course correction with that initial one to doing more of this Kickstarter project and like the membership site kind of a deal? I'm speaking to the crowdfunders in the audience who have already launched a Kickstarter campaign or have actually even successfully run a campaign. And the reason is, I think you will understand this pain point most. And that is, when you finally do raise money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, the hardest part is not collecting the cash. The hardest part is shipping out all of those perks and rewards to your backers. It is a nightmare, my friends. It's a lot of spreadsheets, it's a lot of headache, and it's a lot of stress. That's why I recommend BackerKit. If you have not heard of BackerKit, they help you collect surveys, they help you collect data, and the entire fulfillment process is just so much easier and so many less spreadsheets when you use their software. You can check them out at backerkit.com and use CrowdCrux for a special discount.
Well, initially we were a recurring shipment. I'd always had the idea for a membership, but I decided I'd start with a recurring shipment. It was like more, I thought it was safer, but our retention wasn't that good on the recurring orders. Customers would stop with the recurring orders and then just buy our products because people really loved our products, but they didn't like getting a recurring shipment. And we had sort of built the user experience for a recurring shipment. So then I thought, well, my initial idea was membership. I always loved the Costco and Trader Joe's model. I've always wanted to combine them. So let's see. So I just emailed all our customers and said, hey, guys, would you be into this? And I just got my inbox flooded with yeses when I explained the idea. So then I launched it, kind of a beta version in November, and tons of people signed up. So then I thought, okay, now what I'm going to do is really just go full force with this and polish the brand visual identity. At that point, I realized, I thought the name Public Goods was really cool. We got the domain publicgoods.com and we just went full force.
When we look at these different Kickstarter projects, you have a tremendous amount of success thus far. I urge everyone to go and check out publicgoods.com. And you clearly are the generalist here in that you've mastered a lot of different disciplines. I want to just ask you very quickly about your co-founder, I believe, Michael. So how has he then helped with this entire launch process, or how has he played into the team?
Well, Mike's germane because he's the one who is at every manufacturing facility, making sure everything is up to our specifications, up to our standards, on time. He's the one getting this whole thing actually made. So we couldn't do it without him because he's the one behind the physical products and our relationships with all of our manufacturers.
And that was, I guess, just sort of emerged out of a friendship, you two meeting and such.
Yeah, we met in a bar in Shanghai in 2003. I was kind of traveling and then ended up living in China for a couple of years. He actually ended up living there for, I think, 12 years. I left before him. But we stayed in touch. Then, I went to his wedding years later after I'd already left, and then we both ended up in New York at the same time. And I'd already started, getting this thing going. I knew I was building this business, and we were playing tennis a lot, and he had a lot of free time on his hands. And then, thank goodness I convinced him to join me, because I couldn't have done it without him.
Awesome. It's so cool to me to see how those, you have two different skill sets kind of works off of each other to make this thing a reality. I just have one or two more questions here before we wrap it up. Number one being, did you then have any kind of marketing help with this campaign? Did you use any of these kind of agencies that are out there, or anyone to help you aside from the video getting the word out?
Yeah, great question. Absolutely, yes. There's a company called Backer Camp in Spain, and they're awesome, and I highly recommend them. I also couldn't have done it without them. Just because, it's you just navigating the whole thing and making the page look good, and then the marketing strategy and the pricing strategy and the whole thing. So, they helped me from day one. The moment we decided to do it, I lucked out, and it really was just luck. And I found this company, and they were super helpful with every aspect of the campaign.
And did you use any other kind of tools? I know you mentioned a landing page. What did you use to set that up?
Boy, I don't even know. I don't even remember what we use. I know. I could say that Lead Pages and Unbounce are two great companies to build landing pages. So both of those would do if anybody's looking to build landing pages.
Okay, very cool. Well, thanks for sharing some of those resources so listeners can go and check it out. So the last question I have for you here is, you've launched your very first campaign. You made this major pivot. You sort of have rebranded the company. Clearly, it's working very well. People seem to like the new model. You've already raised nearly $500,000 on Kickstarter, so a lot has gone well. If you were to go back in time, though, and you were to talk to Morgan right before he launched his campaign, would you give him any kind of advice or any tips in terms of what he should do differently or what he should focus on more for the launch?
Well, this is one thing is just run it longer. Right now, our campaign we ran the campaign for 38 days, and it would have been great to have run the campaign for 60 days, because people keep signing up. So I think there's a tendency to do short campaigns, 30-day campaigns. But I think, to optimize and have time to reach out to people, I would say that a 60-day campaign would have been great, and we would have raised more money because we would have been able to work on it longer.
Very well said. That is something I think that's overstressed, even that shorter campaigns, usually you recommend it because of the momentum. It's hard to maintain it. But actually, with your campaign, you have a lot of momentum, so it would make more sense in that case. I think it's just hard to know when it's the right decision.
Well, that's it. I think people don't want I think it's sort of, and I don't know, but I'm guessing I think, it was the case for us. It was fear. We don't want to have this long campaign dragging out if it doesn't work, right? So,
exactly.
But I think if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then it doesn't matter. You stop, I guess, working on it, and it's just there. But if it works, I think and that's the goal, and you want to kind of plan for success, then it's better to keep it going longer. I think. There's probably arguments for both sides, but that's what I would have done differently.
So your next stage is going to be fulfillment very soon. You have 4 days left to go at the time we're recording this. Where can people go and check out your company? They can check out this membership that you offer, and maybe some more information about the site.
Simple, yeah. And thanks for asking that. It's publicgoods.com, and people could go and whatever, depending on when people go there, either they'll just be able to go to publicgoods.com and buy a membership and get access to our products, or put in their email depending on when this broadcast happens. Or put in their email and then we'll update them. So yeah, publicgoods.com.
Very cool. Morgan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We'll have to connect when you're back in Williamsburg, and look forward to doing an update with your project.
Perfect. Thanks, Al. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's episode of the show. Lots of other episodes also you can check out in the archives of this podcast. If you do want to reserve your seat for this exclusive web class, you can go to crowdcrux.com/webinar. So this web class, I'm going to go through the tactics that I've uncovered to raise money successfully via Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and other crowdfunding websites. If you're in the preparation stages of a campaign, you're thinking of launching a project, you're thinking of creating a product, or you already have some stuff assembled, maybe you have the video or the image, and you're sort of still wondering, okay, how am I actually going to get a crowd? How am I going to get people interested in this project? Then you should check out this web class at crowdcrux.com/webinar. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.